Hi, I'm Martyn, and welcome to the latest PopBucket Podcast. With me today is James.
Hello.
And Michael.
Hi.
You two doing well?
Yeah, pretty swell.
Yeah,
Jolly
all
good.
That's the banter out the way. What are we going to talk about?
I've been reviewing a couple of games recently, been very busy. The first one I've done is the Bureau XCOM Declassified, and also I've just reviewed Rayman Legends as well.
The Bureau, I didn't even know that one was coming. Actually, you really snuck that one in while I was away on leave, and I had a little read of it when I got back. It's a good review, man.
You're talking about XCOM, yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, the Bureau.
Yeah.
It's a weird game, isn't it? Because I've been following it since they first announced it, and obviously, like as you said,
7 years ago now.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
2006 they first unveiled it as a FPS, first-person shooter.
Yeah,
with sort of detective elements, wasn't it? Had like an LA Noire kind of uncovering the truth kind of feel about it. But
got really bad feedback at the start, didn't it? When it was first released, in its FPS sort of thing, when they were trailing it, people were like, "That's not XCOM, man," you know.
It got terrible critical and fan feedback, and so 7 years later, which is a very long time. In games, even longer than Half-Life 3 or something like that. If that is a creation at some point.
Nearly as long as Duke Nukem, but not quite.
Yeah, almost. It's better than I thought it was going to be. It's been quite split reviews. I gave it a 7. I was thinking of perhaps an 8 for Split Moment. I went down to 7.
A moment of madness.
Because people gave it 4. I don't know what they're thinking. It's mechanically, it's perfectly decent, although it's nothing amazing.
Yeah.
I talked about it in my review at the very end, saying the sequel, if it goes in development and exactly what it's going to be, it probably end up being really good fun. Because I don't know if you played Enemy Unknown, but the strategy element of that is amazing. It's really good fun. And I think they could translate that quite well to a third-person cover sort of shooter mechanic, sort of a bit like Gears of War, Uncharted.
So it's gone from being like a system where you've got like a certain number of squares on the map to move people around to being like where you've got AI-controlled like buddies and you order them around. Is that right?
It's a bit like sort of, you said it was a bit Mass Effect-y in the sense that you can kind of, I guess, pause time and work on the tactics, I suppose, in between.
It's exactly like that. You've got like a command wheel. Again, very similar to a Mass Effect where you can press like Y to do some power. You've got very similar functions. You've got critical strike, you can bring in bombardment, you can get your character to cloak. You've got those sort of powers, and considering they, about a year and a half ago, we rejigged it, I thought they did it quite well. It's nothing groundbreaking, but what I liked most about it was XCOM. I think it's got quite an interesting universe with all the aliens and things like that. And being a third person, they can make it cinematic, where you can see planes, alien ships crashing in front of you. You can see the aliens going around, but then you had some of the strategy elements of it as well. So I quite enjoyed the combination, although the AI was a bit iffy, which let it down.
Yeah, because that's always going to be when you've got like a shooter like that with which is third person, and you order the AI around. The AI is going to like make or break the game. So
yeah, exactly. And games like Gears of War, Uncharted, it doesn't make any difference. But when your squaddies are integral to winning the battle, if AI is a bit lacking, it's a problem.
It can be a frustrating experience. Yeah.
But like Sheva from Resident Evil 6.
Oh, God.
She ruined my
the
life.
fifth one, she was a bit...
Was it? Yeah, it was the fifth one, wasn't it?
I played it through co-op, so I never had to suffer that, but I have heard...
I wish I knew you when I was playing through that, actually. You'd have been a good co-op buddy.
I'd have been alright, yeah.
I really enjoyed Resident Evil 5. Again, I've played it all for co-op with a person, and I really enjoyed it. I know it's not Resident Evil Evolved.
The classical Resident Evil, yeah.
But I really
on its own terms, it works, doesn't it? Yeah.
It was good. It was good. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I like the new format in general, really. So from like 4 onwards, I think that was quite a bold but quite a smooth move actually into a different perspective.
And they can always release the odd classic Resident Evil game, you know. I mean, it's not like that's completely gone.
Well, we did that with Revelations for a 3DS and then Xbox and PS3.
So I think the two can coexist. And, you know, you can draw in new fans to the series, and also you can sort of keep the majority of the old fans happy. Obviously, you won't keep all the old fans happy because there's no way you can do that. But, you know, that's just human nature, really. But yeah, anyway, sorry, you talk about XCOM. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be worth a play. It's when it probably gets a bit cheaper, I think, to be fair, as they're looking at consumer with a consumer hat on.
Yeah.
It's not worth a full 35, 40 odd pounds because it is a little bit lacking in some parts, but I found it enjoyable.
If you hadn't like played Enemy Unknown XCOM before, would you recommend playing that first before moving on to the new one?
I'd say it makes no difference because it's a prequel set in the 60s before the future set other games. I'd say dive right in. Yeah,
so you wouldn't get more enjoyment out of the new title without playing the old one because the old one was just so much better.
I'd say it makes little difference in my opinion.
Yeah. That's probably because the game is so different, the old one, that you wouldn't be able to transfer those skills over to the new one because obviously it's a third-person shooter, and also because, like you just said, time-wise, the plot is a prequel, so it's not like you know you're getting a load of story that you're missing out on. Because
I'll go with that.
That's pretty good.
It's fine. The only thing I would say about that is all of other people picked up in it. It says about erasing the truth across the game. It's like you don't do any of that.
That was in the trailer, wasn't it?
There's one mention at I think at the final cutscene or something like that.
Yeah.
And because it's 60s America, there's not mobile phones and people can't take pictures easily.
Yeah.
Basically, they're trying to keep the alien invasion hush hush.
Yeah.
So towns in America, they could be wiped out, but no one has to find out, basically, which could happen in some of the sort of more deserted regions of America. But there's no erasing the truth whatsoever. It was quite
misleading game trailer. There's a shocker.
Yeah, it wasn't like Men in Black where you hold up that light.
Yeah, I was going to say,
and you blind people.
Yeah,
and they forget everything that stuff happened. There's none of that.
So they oversold the plot a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say so.
To their own detriment.
Yeah, a little. It probably would have made the plot a bit more interesting. Yeah. It was fine on the whole. Yeah. It's not going to win any awards, that's for sure. But I think the PR marketing company were at a slightly different wavelength to the game developers and their vision. But hopefully, again, what I said in the review, the sequel would be really good.
Yeah.
They can...
because they've got the cool mechanic now, they can improve upon it and fine tune that AI as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm quite keen to check it out actually, because as I say, I did follow it from sort of inception, I suppose. So it'd be interesting to see what the final beast is like. And your review kind of just reinforced that view for me. Really, I just thought, that's the kind of game I can get on board with. As you say, it's probably not a day one purchase. Well, I've missed day one anyway. But yeah, I think I'll pick it up in the old bargain bin at some point.
Yeah, definitely should go for it. And also at Gamescom last week, they announced XCOM Enemy Within, which is I think an add-on pack essentially to the sort of strategy Enemy Unknown from last year. Definitely going to be looking at that.
Cool.
What else will we be doing? Has anyone else got anything? So I could ramble on for ages about everything I've been up to.
Shall we go? Oh, sorry, James.
No, you carry on, my friend.
No, I was going to say, shall we go straight on to the question? But if you got some...
I've got far too much to talk about, Mike.
Ooh, okay.
Getting ahead of ourselves a little.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I did it a long time ago, actually, but did the review for Killer is Dead, which is now on the shelves. So that's on the site for people to view.
What do you think about it? He's got very odd, weird games. I've played Lollipop Chainsaw. That's the only one of his I've played. And that's
okay. I'm generally quite a big fan. In fact, I'm a massive fan of Suda51's games, really. I mean, they're all pretty variable. Probably my favourite is probably Shadows of the Damned in terms of actual playability and storyline as well. Killer is Dead is probably as weird, if not weirder, than the usual kind of offerings from Suda. I mean, kind of where it fell short for me was I found it quite dull. The actual storyline was interesting enough, a little bit disjointed. You play sort of Mondo Zappa, who's this kind
great
of
name.
It is a great name, isn't it? Yeah, incorporating like one of my favourite rock stars of all time. Yeah, I mean, you play this guy. He's kind of a supernatural kind of bounty hunter. So he goes and hunts down supernatural killers and villains.
Yeah,
which is all well and good. He's got like a robotic arm, so his arm got cut off at some point in his life, and he's had it replaced with this bionic beast, which does all sorts of things from shooting to hacking devices and things like that. So that's pretty standard. It's pretty cool. In his other hand, he holds a samurai sword, so you do a lot of slashing. The main sort of fighting that goes on is with your sword, which is quite cool. It's got some quite good fighting mechanics. Where it fell short, I think, was there's a little bit too much fighting. It's kind of, a lot of it is endless corridors of this baddie, that baddie. Most of them are robots, so they all kind of look the same. They don't really have any real defining characteristics.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a bit of a slow experience, really.
And is the combat itself, is that quite varied? I mean, is it like do you have different tactics to take down different enemies, or is it pretty much hack and slash?
It is quite basic hack and slash. I mean, it's like a 3-button combo system.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it's a bit like an advanced kind of version of Dynasty Warriors. Although you can do some cool blocks and some cool counters, and you can do some finishes as well if you build up your sort of meter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, generally there's different enemy types, and they each require kind of a different tactic. So a bit like Arkham City, some people you need to sort of stun them first and then get behind them. So it gets more varied as you go, because you unlock additional abilities and additional moves. But certainly for the first couple of hours, I found it quite slow and quite it was just button bashing, I suppose, which is kind of a shame. There's the odd kind of puzzle that you come across as well, but there's not really much in terms of sort of platforming or anything like that. It is kind of episodic. You go on a mission, you find the target for the mission, who is the boss for that particular level, and then you kill him, and then you go on to the next one. So, that's weird.
A lot of what I've seen online is talks about, was it the misogynistic part of the game? Because a few of us have been sort of teetering on the edge, but I think some people have said, "Oh, this is the worst one yet." I don't know if that's just general internet.
With how
babble.
the female characters are portrayed, or because I don't really know anything about.
Well, I was sort of saying in my review that there's when you're sort of in between missions, so when you're in between the sort of combat nastiness, you get a chance to go on these things called gigolo missions. So basically, Mondo Zappa is like, he's a killer, but he's also a massive sort of ladies' man. So he's a big sort of big womanizer. He's got a few girls on the go. And yeah, these gigolo missions, basically you go on a date with a girl. It's in kind of first-person perspective, and the girl will just sit next to you and talk to you. Kind of, I don't know. They've got about 4 lines that they repeat, and it's kind of vaguely flirty. And every so often, the girl will look away or have a drink, sip from a drink or something like that. And you then have to turn on this thing called gigolo vision, which means you have to look at parts of the girl's body, which they call the sexy shots. So you look at their cleavage for a long time until they look, and then you have to look away and pretend you're not looking at that. Or you can look at their thigh, and it's a bit weird. It makes you feel a bit strange.
Kind of almost schoolboy humour.
It is, yeah. It's it's a bit voyeuristic, but it's a bit weird. Yeah, I found the whole thing kind of a bit unnecessary, really. And then when you basically, by doing this, you build up a meter, which is like a blood meter. And once you've got your blood up, you're able to give the girl a gift. And by giving the girl a gift, you take her home to your place, and then she gives you a gift as well. So it's
that
kind
always
of
sounds like a euphemism, James.
yeah. When I say a gift, I mean, well, she does give you a gift, but she also gives you a new weapon or something like that. So it's kind of, as I said in my review, it's a bit weird. It's kind of reward-based lechery, I think.
Reward-based lechery, yeah. I think that does describe it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, a lot of people have kind of said to me, and other reviewers, I think that have done the review and mentioned that, and they've said, oh, you're making too much of it. You don't, you can play through the entire game without having to do any gigolo missions.
Yeah,
and they're absolutely right. But if you're putting something in which is 40, maybe 30% of the experience, people are going to play it and people are going to have an opinion on it. Mm-hmm. And when you're reviewing something, you've got to comment on it. And to me, it felt a bit cheesy, a bit childish, a bit unnecessary. I don't know. What do you guys think? Sexism, misogyny, evil?
Yeah, it's always quite difficult. It just seems he obviously, if it's that in the game that much, he obviously deemed it a necessary component of a game. It just seems what you describe. I think it's like there's many other ways you could give your main character weapons and stuff like that, rather than iron up the odd lass here or there. Basically.
It is kind of a Japanese kind of. They do have a very voyeuristic kind of tendency towards that sort of thing in genres that they've got. I mean, they've got a whole dating genre games. But it just, because obviously I'm assuming the studio that this comes from is Japanese based, because they tend to make the most quirky kind of offbeat games. But
it's Grasshopper and But yeah, I mean, you get to the end of when you complete the game, you unlock something called X-ray specs or gigolo glasses or something like that. And when you do that, you can actually play through these gigolo missions, but with X-ray specs on. So all you see is their underwear, which is just kind of embellishes the experience, really. But yeah, it's funny. I don't know. I mean, I gave the game a 6 because there's it looked wonderful, stylized, cel shaded, fantastic. The musical score I thought was brilliant. But I just thought, it didn't really live up to previous Suda games, and it didn't really live up to a lot of top titles. Really, I just thought it was quite mundane. Really, just a back and forward hack and slash. But I mean, it was getting a lot of 8s and even 9s out there. I don't know what people were thinking. Really, I think it's a Suda game. I had high hopes for it. I think a lot of people did, but people out there are kind of acting like they've never seen an arty game before. I don't know.
Right, going from that was 6 out of 10. I've decided what I'm going to give Rayman Legends.
Oh right.
Now I think
really?
I'm going to give it a 10.
A 10.
A 10.
High stakes.
I think that's my second 10
ever.
Yeah.
What was the first?
Kind of thing. I gave BioShock Infinite a 10.
Worthy.
Worthy. I think that's the only other 10 I've given. I've given a few 9s. I pride myself on giving Spec Ops a 9 out of 10, despite some people giving it 5. I think I saw beyond other reviewers on that.
I think I gave Deus Ex a 10. I think that was my last 10, maybe, of the games that I've reviewed. Those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, but anyway, so back to Rayman Legends. It's I've been playing it on the Xbox and the Wii U, which is it's good. The only problem is, it was a Wii U title originally, and it's going to be exclusive.
There was a big furore around that, wasn't there?
Yeah, back in March. The Wii U version is actually slightly worse.
Oh God!
Really?
Yeah.
After all those Nintendo fanboys had to go through as well, and they've got a worse version.
It's very minor, really, in the grand scheme of things. But
it really is just one more insult.
Don't tell them; they might never know.
The problem only arises when playing co-op. Playing solo on the gamepad and the main TV. That setup, because obviously you can play on the gamepad only.
Yeah.
Playing on the Xbox or PlayStation 3 version. You're playing solo, you just have a normal controller, and because of Murphy, the assistant character, was really going to be controlled on the gamepad. He can only be controlled by pressing B repeatedly on the controller to like cut the ropes, slide sort of trapdoors across and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's really simply implemented, but because you've only got a standard controller, you can't become the co-op player. You can't become that flying Murphy character, which on the Wii U version you do become the co-op player, the assistant.
Right, so you actually take control of one there.
You take control of the assistant, whereas AI takes control of the main character. That's hopping across platforms.
Oh, so Murphy's got different abilities.
Yeah.
That you can utilise.
The main character has slightly iffy AI because he's an autopilot jumping across the levels. When there's like secret doors, it can be quite difficult to try and get him to go where you want to, particularly when the back door is behind you, sort of tucked sort of behind a little section where you have to jump backwards on yourself. That's a bit awkward. And also, as an AI player, as a Murphy, as a co-op assistant, it's just not quite as fun playing as the assistant. Otherwise, you'd make the whole game like that.
Yeah. Because Rayman, the whole thing is it's a platform game, isn't it? It's about high speed, getting across the platforms, timing your jumps, that sort of thing. And exactly. I guess it's a different experience playing as someone who only has to do the odd push button task here or there.
Yeah, and
it's not called Murphy Legends
when you're solo on the Wii U, you have to become the assistant. So you're not actually jumping across the level; you're just sort of slicing the odd rope to make a path.
But that inferior version aside, what did you think of the? I assume the main game that you played in general. Then
it's one of my favourite platforming games ever.
Yeah,
I'd say it's.
I praise.
I don't like. Well, I don't say I don't like. I enjoy 3D Mario games more than the 2D ones.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's because I started with Mario 64. It's just a way.
I kind of feel the same way.
But with Rayman Legends, it's so beautifully designed. The hand-drawn levels are going to be timeless for the rest of existence. Whereas, although the Mario 8-bit style is classic, it is dated. Whereas in Rayman Legends and Origins, they never can look out of date because it's hand-drawn.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
In essence, every single frame of that game you could hang up in a gallery. That kind of...
Yeah, it's beautifully drawn and well animated, and lighting, it's beautiful. In terms of gameplay mechanics, sort of level design, it's far better than most other platforming games around. The variety, you go from like a Mexican level, you got like a Jules Verne level. You just got such a great variety, and it perfectly balances the difficulty, because sometimes you can be too easy platformers or too difficult, but it strikes a balance perfectly. Rayman Legends.
Does it have a story? Because I played a bit of, I think it was Rayman Origins, and it, as fun as it was, it didn't make sense. I didn't know what was going on.
Basically, I think since Origins, Rayman and his crew have been sleeping for 100 years, and all the baddies can pop back up again. You've got to defeat them. It's the same depth of narrative as all the Mario games. Princess Peach gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
Go to Bowser. Get Princess Peach back. Game over. It's as simple as any of those games.
Okay.
But honestly, if you like platforming games and you have a spare 30-40 quid, go buy that game.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
So, are you giving 10 for both versions, or did you buy one for pleasure?
No, both. I got both sent to me because I really wanted to see
the comparison.
Comparison.
Yeah.
Because
so 10 for both.
Wii U was built perfect. Wii U was built for Xbox. I thought the rushed port might not be quite as good. But it
turned out to be the opposite way around.
But I think taken into account that minor little issue, which can easily be rectified by a friend or playing on the gamepad only, it still warrants a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because it is platforming Nirvana.
That damn good.
I'd say so.
Gosh. Well, maybe I'll have to look into it.
Cool.
At some point. I'm not really a massive platform dude.
If you're going to buy one platform gaming for the rest of time, buy that one.
Yeah, it is getting a shed load of high praise actually. So it's made me think, Rayman, because Origins, I didn't have a great experience with Origins. Well, it was on 3DS, I think. But
I
yeah,
never played that one. I'm not sure if that's inferior compared to the main Xbox.
I think maybe it was inferior. Yeah, it felt inferior.
James, you played recently. You played Worms Clan Wars, didn't you? As well. I just wanted to ask about how you
that
felt
was
about
Adam.
that. Yeah.
No, that
was
was
someone
Adam.
else. Yeah, that was Adam.
I did
James
the previous.
I do apologise. Yeah.
Worms. I can't remember what they were. The Worms collections and the new Worms, whatever it was before Clan Wars. But yeah, no, that was Adam. But yeah, high praise.
Yeah, I saw he gave it 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's one of those games that I'm actually genuinely considering of getting, just because of the fact that it's just such a great kind of multiplayer experience, and obviously it makes perfect sense to go the whole Clan Wars way with it as well. So, yeah.
Jolly good.
Yeah, I mean the last, I don't know why the names escape me. Maybe Martyn can help me out. But the last Worms title, the Xbox Live Arcade one, that I reviewed, that was a really good experience actually, and introduced some really great new mechanics, which kind of, for me, sort of invigorated the series. Which I think it kind of, I liked it, but it kind of went a bit sour when they started doing the 3D games.
Yeah, the 3D games were really a sort of unsuccessful departure. I mean, the awful thing is there was actually a 3D Worms clone, or I say clone, called Hogs of War.
Yeah, I remember
PS1.
that. On the PS1, yeah.
And they had Rick Mail doing the voices and stuff, and that was actually a really good.
It was pretty good.
It was a really good 3D version of Worms, if you like. But when Worms,
we didn't discover that until like college.
Yeah,
like years later. We drank a lot of beer playing that game. It was great fun.
It was funny as well. It was well scripted. But the problem is when the Worms did their own version of the 3D game, the mechanics were off. Which is, I mean, the mechanics are everything in Worms, because you're not playing it for the plot, are you? So it kind of ruined the series. But now that they're back to, what it should be, which is 2D, really nice graphics, really nice background, 2D but nice 2D, lots of weapons, lots of variety. So
I think that's it, isn't it? It's back to old form. As you say, 2D graphics with a new shiny engine. It all looks tickety-boo for me. But yeah, I mean the 3D ones, I think most of the enjoyment in Worms is when you make that perfect jump, or you do that perfect bit of ninja roping, bit of bungee.
Just onto a tiny bit of scenery,
Yeah, exactly. You can spend, most of your go trying to get onto that bit. You get there. With Worms 3D, things like that just became impossible and just no fun, really. And if you did do it, it's probably by accident. Yeah, Worms. We should have a Worms game sometime.
We should do.
We should try. I was just looking, James. I think it's Worms Revolution Collection.
Revolution, that was it.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Good save.
I don't know, my ninja rope skills, James.
I think I'll annihilate you two with my...
What's your favourite weapon in Worms? Was it I quite like the flying sheep, super sheep, whatever it's called.
Sheep. Yeah, that was good. I always like the banana bomb, but it was so bouncy. It just goes horribly wrong sometimes.
I'm gonna pick the concrete donkey, just because it's so unfair. That's why I like it. You just drop it and it keeps pummeling until it goes right down to the end of the scenery. So if you drop that on a group of worms, they are pretty much dead, and anyone who falls into the sea.
That is a game breaker, that thing,
I never remember that. That's equivalent of like the nuclear bomb going off in Modern Warfare 2, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. yeah. Can make or break a game, although...
It's one of those things, if I'm setting up a custom game, I'll put a weapon lock on it, so it's definitely, you can't use it until like 15, 20 turns in, because that's... Yeah, otherwise it does tend to ruin things.
No, you don't want that going off.
No.
Yeah. Right,
I can't believe we haven't even mentioned the holy hand grenade.
Well, I thought one of you guys might, because the banana bomb was like the bouncy version of that. But
yeah.
less power.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I did like that highly hand grenade. Because was there a reference to Monty Python in it? I can't remember.
Yeah,
the holy hand
it's a
grenade
callback to the Holy
Antioch,
Grail,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That
thought
was
so.
with the is it that killer rabbit?
Yeah.
It's when they have to destroy the killer rabbit. They say, what were they talking about? They were talking about 3 should be the number thou shalt count, or something like that.
Yeah.
Count not to 1 or not to the 2. 5 is right out.
Be it not 4.
Oh, that's classic, that one. Just quickly, I don't want to go on too much, but I've watched Star Wars Episode 1 and 3 since we last talked.
Okay. Have you
I was
watched
talking
2?
about. I haven't watched 2 yet.
Okay.
Again.
What do you... What?
What's
Because
with
the third one was on
order?
TV.
Oh, right.
And then I thought I'd stick with the first one on.
Yeah.
And I haven't got around to the second one yet.
Okay, so thoughts, reflections. Bearing in mind, I'm not biased. Just tell me what you want to tell me.
Again, they're terrible in several ways, but some of the actions not bad still.
Yeah.
Again, Darth Maul, the lightsaber battle.
It had action going for it, to be fair. Some of them did. That was probably its redeeming feature.
I thought the podcast race is not podcast.
The podcast
pod
race.
racer.
And podcasters are off. Who can talk the most nonsense in 5 minutes? Here they go.
I like the podcaster racing a lot more after Pod Racer came out on the 64.
Yeah.
That was an awesome game. And
it felt a bit cynical to me, though. It felt like, not the game, but it felt like having that sequence in the movie was just so that they could then go on and release a tie-in, game. Because George Lucas, he's kind of infamous, I should say. Sorry for I can't pronounce stuff. He's for doing this, like the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, are like the first example of where he's obviously pandering to like a toy audience, and I just felt it was the same thing with Episode 1 when they had the pod race in there, because there's no real reason why, because it's not a climax. There's no real reason why it has to build to that point in the story. So,
it's a device, I suppose, for showing Anakin's ability at a young age for being a badass and having great reactions like a Jedi should, I suppose. But I mean, it was a bit. Yeah, exactly.
But it was a great game. You're right, though.
You are forgetting it also spawned one of the better arcade games ever, and that's the podcast. I can't speak either. The pod race arcade game where you had 2 throttles like you did in the film.
Yeah.
To turn, you had to sort of change the levers in different directions.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great one.
I'm not arguing with the quality of the spin-offs, because I think I remember playing that in an arcade and I really enjoyed it. But I'm just saying, I think that in the film, that's kind of the main reason they bunged the racing. Anyway, what other thoughts on the film, Mike? Come on, I want to hear.
It is a bit odd, the relationship between Anakin and Padmé, considering he's like a 10-year-old boy, and even if she's 16 or 17 or even 18, it's a bit odd how she goes from mothering him to having his kids.
She's a bit of a cradle snatcher, yeah.
She is a little bit.
Said, yeah.
Yeah, Padmé's was a bit. It's not predatory, it's far from the right word, but
because it won't make sense to you because you haven't seen 2, so you won't know. Like if you see 2,
a couple of years ago.
Oh, right. If you see, well, basically in 2, it makes even less sense because if you're looking at someone who you're getting in a relationship with them, like Anakin does all of the things that are wrong that would drive someone away. Like he's boastful, he's arrogant. He remember that she's a senator in the second one, effectively, and he's going on about how I'd like to see a strong government with one guy ruling. Yeah. He sounds like a bit like a fascist dictatorship, and basically he's non-committal. His answer is, effectively his answer is, well, as long as it gets the job done, and yet she still ends up, rolling in the hay.
Political views like that wouldn't really make good bedfellows with her, I suppose, but she's got good genes, though. I mean, he's all grown up in the second film. She hasn't aged a day.
Yeah, she's extremely youthful still, isn't she? But I was thinking we're discussing that. I think, say if she's 18, and say by episode 3 she's, 10 years later, she'd be 28. Anakin's gone from 10 to about 20 odd. You don't age much in your 20s, really, and especially with a little bit of makeup. So I suppose, the looks wise, but I just think she's a bit weird. The relationship's a bit weird in the first one, and what it turns into. It's quite sweet as she looks after him, but then you know what? She's only got one thing on her mind. Yeah, she's just grooming him for the future. Padmé is grooming Anakin. That's interesting. Bold statement. What about Jar Jar Binks? Did you like how they introduced him in the first episode? Everyone got really pissed off, and then they just sort of did away with him, and he became some weird senator, and you're never to be seen again. Really, he is often the odd cameo. He's an annoying git, isn't he? God, he is. Even his entire race are annoying. Like, I don't mean to be racist against the Gungans, but even Brian Blessed couldn't save the Gungans. Because he just has that mouth wobble thing. Like that. He looks like Harold Bishop from Home and Away or Neighbours or whatever it was.
We found him. He's back. Harold's back. Oh.
Why does their master, that Harold Bishop guy, look so different to the other Gungans, though?
I don't know.
I was thinking it's like the Queen Anne looks different, or the Queen Bee looks different.
Do you know the thing that made me really cringe is when they're on the way to the Gungan place or whatever the fuck it is. Sorry, they're travelling underwater in this thing, and the fish is coming up to eat them, and another fish comes up and swallows them. And I'm thinking he's not going to say it, is he? And he goes, "There's always a bigger fish." I'm like, oh my god!
I did chuckle at that last night.
I did laugh. I did laugh. I did smile, but I was thinking, "Oh, come on, George."
It's a bit obvious, isn't it? A little bit. I think trite.
I think it's good. It comes when you see, as I said it before, he's just supervising, giving me yes or no to overall plot lines rather than writing the dialogue.
As long as his supervising consists of being on a Mediterranean island thousands of miles away
from Hollywood,
just doing nothing, he can supervise as much as he wants. I think that's the perfect role for George, really.
Okay.
I'm not even going to talk about Indiana Jones anyway.
All right, we'll skip on. We need to get on to our topic of the week.
Okay.
And that is, what is our favourite Grand Theft Auto game? And also, what's your worst one?
Okay. Or least favourite.
Your least favourite, yeah. I think we can all like them.
Pretty much all of them, yeah.
So, who wants to kick this off? Does anyone have any burning desire?
Ooh. I'll kick off with the best.
Okay.
Yeah. My best ever. And it might be something to do with maybe the time of life where I was playing it, but it's got to be San Andreas for me. Mm-hmm. That sort of unparalleled sense of freedom that you get from just thinking, stuff it. Today I'm going to really piss off the cops and then drive up a mountain and then maybe parachute off the top. And then jump in a jet plane and sort of, blow some shit up. Yeah, it just, for me, it was an open world where anything was possible. You could dive to the bottom of the ocean, you could go to the highest skyscraper and base jump. It just freedom was king in that.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack.
One of the biggest early maps as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm really excited to be going back to San Andreas, actually, in the new game, especially seeing some of the old sites actually in kind of the next generation glory. I think looking at the mountain and some of the country regions would be really good, actually. So yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, it's looking amazing with new ones, so I can't wait to play it.
Have you guys pre-ordered it?
No, I haven't actually. I should do.
Yeah, I should probably get on that as well. But
you get I think if you pre-order it on, most places actually, you get a free blimp. Like an in-game blimp that you can fly around the city and probably jump out of it and stuff.
Very slowly going round.
Yeah, apparently it's good for the sightseeing and stuff.
Yeah,
and a slow getaway.
What was the way? Right, my one is the previous installment to James's one, I think, which is Vice City. Is my favourite one in the entire series. I don't know entirely why. I think it's partially because it's the one where they first brought in a really cool voice acting cast. So I think you got Ray Liotta plays the main guy. Tommy Vercetti is a bit of a cool dude, just out of prison, rocking a stonewashed jeans and a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
So there's what's not to love. You've got Lance Vance as your sidekick. The first missions where you're on rails, shooting up someone's mansion, explosions everywhere, bad guys, proper like references to everything from Scarface to Carlito's Way, the lawyer in Carlito's Way as well as just for a movie buff.
Ken Rosenberg
it's a dream.
or whatever his name
Ken Rosenberg, yeah. And the English guy as well, Kent Paul as well in that game is hilarious.
Danny Dyer, wasn't it?
I think it is, yeah. I'm not sure if it isn't Danny Dyer, it should be. But yeah, so that game, just the sense of fun, really, more than anything else. It was
beauty of a soundtrack. That one, didn't it?
It had an absolute gorgeous soundtrack, and it had one of the best intro sequences I've seen to any game. Just the way like the lettering came up of Vice City, and you've got like the artwork that they had for it at the time, which is that very 1980s kind of flat style of artwork, but really bold pastel colours, pastel pinks and shades.
Yeah, they had like the palm tree cut out, didn't they, and things like that. So it that was a nice effect, actually.
Yeah, it was cool. I just like the fact that you could ride bikes for the first time, or and steaming down the highway, listening to Billie Jean on the way to the nightclub to dance it up. I mean, that's it's just a great experience, and so. That's why I pick it. It's the closest I think GTA has ever got to Saints Row in terms of the fun. The fun
it's
factor.
the first one where they introduced sort of property and real estate as well. Yeah. You could buy like the nightclub and things like that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Vice City is my favourite one, and part of the reason is again the property side of stuff, which I really like doing. Sort of building up my property portfolio and getting the money and stuff like that, and which I'm really pleased are doing in the new fifth one.
Yeah, they sort of missed out on that, didn't they, with GTA 4? There wasn't so much opportunity to make an income, actually, which is that was really fun, actually. And in San Andreas as well, buying the properties and things like that, it was a nice move.
Yeah,
Give you a little bit of extra depth. I also missed, like, in GTA 4, I missed the car customization, because that was massive in San Andreas. You could buy a car and like do it up, put a weird spoiler on it and some rims, and give it like a crazy paint job. That was, I'm looking forward to that.
Basically, the fifth one looks like it's got all the jet planes from San Andreas. It's got all the craziness. It's got the sort of some of the property from Vice City. It looks like they're taking the best bit of every single game, and just shoved it into one.
It is looking promising,
and
also
promising.
The kind of like a Sopranos kind of tone as well for one of the guys. Because you play like an old like retired ex-bank robber, don't you? Who's like trying to get.
He looks like he's sort of connected to the mob and stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then you got the other guy who looks like he's sort of from the ghetto a bit. He's got like a bit of a Wire vibe going on about it.
Kind of like more like the San Andreas kind of aesthetic.
Yeah.
And then you've got the crazy hillbilly as well. So
batshit crazy hillbilly.
Yeah.
For good measure.
So good. So bearing that in mind, that we're pretty much we like the game Vice City and San Andreas from the same era. What's your least favourite GTA game?
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one because they all have merit, but
you
had to single one out.
I had to single one out. It would be the fourth one, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think because it was better graphics and it was better technically in many ways.
Yep.
But it didn't do anything better really gameplay wise. Like they had the leap. I played all of them, like the first one, the London one, GTA 2, and they all had their improvements and graphically and technically. But when it went to 3D, that was amazing. Vice City added all these other elements to it. San Andreas then had all the crazy fun of it. Then the fourth one came along, went really serious, didn't have any of the fun elements, didn't have, say, car customization, didn't have the property, didn't have skydiving, except the Ballad of Gay Tony was really good fun.
That was
the
great
expansion pack.
Yeah.
That's what the fourth one should have been, and what the fifth one looks like it's going to be.
Yeah.
It was. I had good fun with it, enjoyed it, and it does deserve higher scores, but it just.
There's something quite dreary about it. I mean, it's. Don't get me wrong. It's a brilliant, realistic city and everything. But that's not what I want from an open world. I want an open world where I can dress up as a clown and jump out of a plane and parachute into a swimming pool. I don't want to take my brother out for a game of darts. As fun as that is, you know.
I quite enjoyed kind of the realism factor.
Drunken darts is good, you know.
Yeah, getting drunk and falling over and getting hit by taxis in the middle of the road. I thought that cracked me up every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I quite like the realism of GTA 4. I mean, you know me, I'm a real serious guy. But no, I don't really. I'm not big on kind of the Saints Row kind of gameplay, to be honest. Yeah. So the seriousness did appeal to me, and a genuine story, I think, which looked at maybe something that the series hadn't looked at before, which was an underrepresented kind of minority group, an immigrant that had come over and was trying to kind of make his way in with
Nico
the American
Bellic,
dream. Nico Bellic and all the people he met along the way, little Jacob and, you know, some of the other characters. It worked for me. It had a bit of a kind of an interesting Eastern European mafia vibe about it, which is quite a different take from the usual kind of Italian mobsters and stuff. So I thought, I don't know, it had a lot of appeal for me. But I know what you guys mean at the same time. It is a lot bleaker than, San Andreas and stuff.
Yeah, I think they succeeded in taking it where they wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I just think they took too many elements out of the game. Like Martyn said, with the property and some of the other fun stuff that you could do, that it didn't feel like GTA, if you know what I mean. It didn't feel like my GTA that I'd grown up with and sort of played. I can appreciate it's a good game on its own merits, but it just didn't feel like canon in a weird way.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
mean, what was odd about it was, and I know the reason why. I mean, it was a shame that they didn't have aeroplanes, I think, which kind of made it feel like it had gone back a step. And I know the reason they'd done it is because it was set in, you know, New York equivalent, and they were worried about, you know, YouTubers and 9/11, you know, kind of imitators and stuff like that, which is, you know, that's all well and good, but it just, it was a missed opportunity, I think, to have large scale sort of aircraft, because there's only so much fun you can have in a helicopter.
Yeah, but I think we can all be agreed though that we're going to be throwing our wallets repeatedly at Rockstar for the fifth one.
Well, I'll be using my money to buy it, but yes, I get what you mean. I won't just go to their headquarters and just repeatedly
knock your wallet through the
take my money, damn it!
Just chuck it to the accountant's window, and
more efficient transaction methods do exist.
Indeed, they do.
Some cowskin. That'll be I mean, it's hopefully I've pre-ordered it, so hopefully it'll arrive on day one. I might even take the day off.
I was thinking that, but I don't think I can afford the time off, unfortunately, because it would be well worth the time to sit there.
It would. It's a game that I'm glad I'm not reviewing, because I just want to kind of take my time with it.
Yeah. The good thing is as well, Digital Rockstar have made is make the online element out 2 weeks later, which means you can enjoy the campaign. It's
quite an interesting move, but I think it's a good one, because you always kind of feel like you're missing out on something, don't you, when you're playing through the campaign? And those campaigns can take a long time.
They can.
Yeah, definitely
can.
But I think I will be playing together online. Actually, you don't have a PlayStation, James. I won't be playing online with you for Grand Theft Auto, sorry to say.
Well, you guys should get it on the Xbox, but then
I had to buy 2 copies.
Yeah, you will.
And we got to save up for the next consoles as well.
What's the is it going to be available on the Xbox One and PS4? I've not heard anything about it, which I think is strange.
Rocks have been very quiet. People are guessing, and these other people's thoughts I'm repeating, that Grand Theft Auto 5 will be this generation only, but that Grand Theft Auto Online is a separate entity in its own right, and they think that will be cross-generational.
Right.
Because they'll be adding stuff to that over time, and it also bridges the gap nicely until the next game.
It's an odd move, really, because, I think, like myself, a lot of people will be probably still playing through the campaign when the new consoles come out.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe, hopefully. And so it's kind of, I don't know, it feels a bit odd. I'd like to see it on the next generation in some form, even if it's a port.
Oh, I have to just mention this before I forget. I recently downloaded Hotline Miami and have played it all the way through. And it is the most addictive game I think I have played in several years. Like proper old school, proper. If you die, you restart right back at the beginning, and all the enemies get reset, and you die by getting clipped by anything. And it's intense and insane, and has a warped soundtrack, and it makes you feel like you're having an out of body experience, which is possibly the best thing I can say about this game. So go and play it if you enjoy being disturbed.
Is that an Xbox arcade purchase?
I got it on the PS3 network.
I think it's on all of them.
But I would imagine it's cross. Yeah.
You say it's the most addictive game of the last few years.
Yeah.
Would you say it's one of the better ones as well?
Definitely, yeah.
That's high praise for that.
Well, yeah. I mean, this might just be my own sort of weird personal taste, but I like games that are like tough and a challenge, and that say basically, no, you've gone through 99% of that perfectly, but because of that 1%, you're going to have to start right back at the beginning. Because the sense of achievement that you get when you eventually do get it right, and you do get a high score, and you do get through, it's quite brilliant. And it's got some really odd, really weird sort of scenes that might be taking place in reality, or could be just a manifestation of your lead character's subconscious. I'm not going to delve too deep into it because I'm not, a qualified psychoanalyst, but it is a great game.
Do yourself an injustice.
Well, if I can find the certificate, but no, it's definitely a game everyone should play once, even if you only play one level and you're like, "What the heck is this?" At least you've experienced one level of Hotline Miami. So there we go. That's my shout.
Cool.
I think on that shout, then we'll end it then.
Cool.
It's with those praise. Oh, and I'd say if you only play one level of Rayman Legends, do that as well. Old school platformings and levels, obviously.
They're back in.
They're really back in, aren't they?
Yeah.
Old school play. So, Thomas is Alone it's quite a good game actually. So play that as well. But anyway, enough rambling from me. So this week a bit of Grand Theft Auto. Can't wait for that. And a bit of Brian Blessed. And Padmé is up there with Rolf Harris, it seems. So, on that note, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from James and Michael.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.